have never been so frightened in my life. I couldn't breathe. I couldn't think straight. I'd just been told that I was going to be shot at dawn. At least that's what it felt like. My heart was racing. I was shaking uncontrollably as I paced around the house, and I couldn't imagine how I would ever come out of this alive. The cause of that reaction, I had made a mistake on an invoice. That's it. I'd made a mistake on an invoice and I felt like I was going to die. Why? Two reasons. One, I had subconscious references for being in trouble and disappointing people. And two, the brain and the body can't tell the difference between fear in our minds and real, immediate physical danger. So even though I was walking around the house saying to myself, and I was speaking out loud to myself, going, this is ridiculous. Why am I so scared? And even though I knew that all I needed to do was correct the error and just resend the invoice, I still continued to feel like I was going to die at any minute. Does anyone else know how that feels? Anyone else have similar experiences where you've been unreasonably terrified for no apparent reason, but you just can't stop feeling scared? So whether you're worried about the coronavirus and the effects it's having on so many areas of life, you know, the uncertainty and the disruption, the fear of the future, fear of getting ill or dying, or you have a fear, maybe you have a fear of like what people may think of you, or not being good enough, or a fear of charging what you're worth, or any other fears related to beliefs, or phobias, or some other illogical fear. But even if you know that your fear is warranted, in other words, there's perfectly good reasons for your fear, over the next 30 minutes, I'm going to share with you exactly what fear is, regardless of the subject of your fear, what really causes it, and of course, most importantly, how to clear the fear. So we're going to start with what fear really is and how it works in your brain and body. And then we'll talk about why two people can experience the same circumstances, the same challenges and the same events, but one feels fear and the other doesn't. And then we'll go on to how to clear the fear, and we'll do a live demonstration with a volunteer for clearing the fear. So we'll ask for a volunteer at that time, someone who would like to be a live, do the live demonstration for clearing a fear. And then finally, we'll go on to Q&A. So we'll open up, we'll unmute everyone, well, not unmute everybody, but we'll invite people to ask questions, and we'll answer your questions at that time. So in the meantime, if you have questions that come up, pop them in the chat if you want to, or just make a note of them, and then we'll answer them all during that time. All right, so part one, what is fear really? So being frightened of something won't make it go away, and it won't change it. So for example, if you're frightened of the coronavirus or the situation around it, or getting ill, or you're worried about other people getting ill, or you're frightened of the knock-on effects of the situation, so losing your job or your business being affected, things being cancelled, financial loss, all of those kind of things, fear is not going to make those things change, and it's not going to make them go away. But being able to think strategically and being able to be creative and being able to notice new opportunities and come up with solutions that will empower you to make changes regardless of the circumstances that are beyond your control, that will completely change your life. That will empower you to make changes. So by the end of this event today, you will know how to make the switch in your brain from fear to strategy, creativity, and empowerment. So as you probably know, fear is a key part of our survival mechanism. So fear is a physiological state created by stress chemicals like adrenaline and cortisol. Those chemicals cause changes in your brain and your body And those changes allow you to respond to immediate physical danger by running away, fighting, or pretending to be dead. And of course, that is crucial when we're faced with immediate physical danger. That is crucial. However, unless your life is in immediate danger and you need to act instantly to run away or fight or pretend to be dead, there is no benefit from fear. In fact, fear can do more damage than good in all circumstances when you're not in immediate physical danger. And I'll explain why that is in a minute. But the problem is that your brain and body don't know that. So if you ever watched a scary movie, your brain and body can't tell the difference between the movie and a real threat. So your heart rate increases and you go into the same fight, freeze, flight emergency state you would if the threat in the movie was actually real. And the only thing stopping you from running screaming into the street is that your conscious mind knows it's just a movie. But since it's your subconscious that is controlling your brain and your body on automatic, so for example, you don't need to consciously regulate your heartbeat or run your organs. So since it is your subconscious that is controlling your brain and body on automatic, and your subconscious can't tell the difference between reality and imagination, even though you consciously know that there's no danger and it's just a movie, your subconscious is still putting your brain and body into that emergency fight, freeze, flight state anyway. And you'll notice that you don't need to be in physical danger or watching a scary movie to feel fear. You just need to think about something you're worried about for your brain and body to produce those stress chemicals. And the reason this is so important is that one of the effects of stress chemicals in your system is the draining of blood from the prefrontal cortex of your brain, where you do your cognitive thinking, to the back of your brain for survival. Because when you're being chased by a bear, there's no time to think things through and strategize or negotiate. You need to act immediately and instinctively. And that's what the back of your brain is for. So this means that whenever you're feeling fear or worry, or in fact any other negative emotion, the part of your brain that makes decisions, solves problems, assesses risk, and forms your judgment is literally offline. You're effectively trying to drive with the handbrake on. So in order to make wiser decisions and notice opportunities that will give you options that you hadn't thought of before, and to access your creative problem-solving skills, you need to bring that part of your brain back online. And bringing that part of your brain back online, releasing the handbrake, means reducing the levels of stress chemicals in your system and increasing the levels of feel-good chemicals like endorphins, serotonin, and oxytocin, which allows blood to flow back to that part of your brain. So feeling good is about more than just feeling good. It's about bringing your cognitive thinking back online. Now, thoughts are connections between neurons, nerve cells in the neocortex of your brain, and those connections trigger your limbic system to produce matching chemicals. So to put it simply, negative thoughts trigger stress chemicals, which cause blood to drain from your prefrontal cortex, and positive thoughts trigger feel-good chemicals, which allow blood to return to your prefrontal cortex, allowing you to think clearly again. So you can see how the vicious cycle perpetuates, because you feel fear, and then the natural human response is to look for the reasons for the fear. And then thinking of the reasons then triggers more of those stress chemicals that are causing the feelings of fear, which cause us to look for more reasons for it. And so it goes on, and we start to think about the details, we read articles, we watch videos, we discuss it with friends, and in every moment we're focused on it, our system is being pumped with increasing levels of those fight, freeze, flight chemicals, those stress chemicals, and keeping the cognitive thinking part of the brain offline so we can't think straight. Toilet paper, anyone? So we can't problem solve effectively or access our judgment. So now that we know that the top priority in switching from fear to strategic, creative thinking, problem solving, and empowerment is to feel good so that we can keep the cognitive thinking part of the brain online. The problem is it's not always easy to just feel good, especially when you're already feeling fear. And the reason it's easier to feel bad than it is to feel good is that stress chemicals are stronger than feel-good chemicals because they're part of our survival system. So they're designed to get and keep our attention on the danger because it's more important for us to, in order to survive, to focus on the wild animal that's threatening us, than on the pretty flowers. So the key to being able to keep your cognitive thinking online, because in the absence of these wild animals and immediate death, immediate physical threat, we need to keep that cognitive thinking part of our brain online. In order to be able to do that, the key is to catch any negative emotions early. So the earlier you change your focus, the easier it is because the levels of stress chemicals in your system won't be as high yet. So the longer you allow yourself to stay in a negative emotional state, the higher the concentration of stress chemicals in your system. And of course, the more difficult it is then to change that chemical balance. So in the next section, we'll show you a quick, effective way to change your chemical state that takes under 2 minutes. And the great news is that it only takes 60 to 90 seconds to change your chemical state and therefore your emotional state, as long as you're keeping your focus off the negative and on the positive for just that minute and a half. So it only takes a minute and a half of focusing on the positive and not on the negative for your system to change from stress chemicals to feel-good chemicals, and bring that part of your brain back online, your cognitive thinking. So in addition to the little 2-minute exercise we'll share with you in the next section, you can also do things like listen to music you love and think of someone or something you love. Bearing in mind wherever you're putting your focus is determining the chemicals that are being produced, which determines how you feel, whether you're producing stress chemicals or feel-good chemicals. You can watch funny YouTube videos, do physical exercise. Physical exercise is one of the most effective ways to change your chemical state and bring your prefrontal cortex back online. You can look for 5 things to be grateful for. And here's the thing, you don't need to find them. Just looking for things to be grateful for will already start to change your brain chemistry. And you can play with your pets or your children or do any activity that you love. So the idea is do whatever it takes, because remember, this is not just about feeling good. It's about bringing the cognitive thinking part of your brain back online. And you'll know that that part of your brain is back online when you're feeling good. So that's just one part of clearing the fear. The second part of clearing the fear, because just doing those activities isn't enough. And here's why. So the second part is, why do some people feel fear of something and others don't, even when they've got the same circumstances, they're experiencing the same events? Now, we're only born with 2 fears. Our default setting when we're born has only 2 fears built in: fear of loud noises and fear of public speaking. No, I'm kidding. Fear of falling. So fear of loud noises and fear of falling. All other fear is programmed through experience. So either by experiencing it directly or by learning it from someone else. So this means that fear isn't always rational, and it certainly isn't consistent. In fact, I knew a man a few years ago, and he was in his mid-60s. He was very intelligent, a successful businessman who was absolutely terrified of bananas. And of course, consciously, he knew that bananas couldn't hurt him. But despite that fact, whenever he saw a banana, even though he knew consciously it couldn't hurt him, his heart rate would increase and he would feel the fear as if his life was in danger. And no amount of reasoning with his conscious mind was able to override that state of emergency. No reason, no logic, just programming. So what causes fear of bananas or moths or cockroaches, or fear of not being good enough, fear of disappointment, fear of uncertainty, fear of charging what you want, what you're worth? And you'll have noticed that some people have responded to the coronavirus situation with fear, while others aren't feeling fear. And some are feeling frustration and anger, and some are feeling optimistic and seeing the bright side, and others aren't paying much attention at all. So what makes the difference? What makes the difference is the subconscious references that provide the evidence for what to fear, what you're supposed to fear. That evidence that is created from childhood. So the evidence for how to react to anything. And here's how it works. From birth, every experience is recorded by the subconscious, but not as a camera records. Every experience is interpreted by the subconscious and then given meaning. And then that meaning is filed for future reference. And this is how we learn who we are and how the world works. It's how a baby can be born in rural Africa or Hollywood and learn to survive in that environment automatically. And it's why some people fear certain experiences while others don't. Then in every moment, the subconscious is referring to the information it holds from childhood memories as evidence that proves who we are and how the world works, and then triggering the brain and body to produce chemicals, and those chemicals create sensations, feelings, and emotions, and then the conscious mind behaves accordingly. So as an example, a client we worked with a few months ago had a fear of the unknown, a fear of the future. And she was finding that no matter how much she wanted to move forward with her business, she couldn't seem to take any action to improve her circumstances and move her business forward because she was frozen by fear every time she thought of doing something. And the fear was not knowing what would happen. So while we worked with her, we discovered that when she was 7 years old, she was left home alone one night when her mum had to rush out to fetch her older sister unexpectedly, and she didn't want to wake her. And so her mother thought she'd just pop out quickly and fetch her sister while she was sleeping. And while her mum was out, there was a power cut. And so this little 7-year-old woke up from a nightmare and couldn't switch on the lights. And she was screaming for her mother. And of course, her mother wasn't there. So she was confused and terrified, and the grogginess of having been fast asleep and not knowing what was going on. And so her subconscious gave the meaning to that experience that she's not safe when she can't see what's coming. So you never know when you might wake up in the dark with no lights and no mother. So once we helped her change those subconscious references to the opposite, positive and empowering, which we're going to be demonstrating in the live demonstration shortly with a volunteer. Once we've done that, so that now, as far as her subconscious is concerned, when she woke up in the dark that night, it was for a surprise. And her mother and her friends were all in her room with a cake, with candles glowing in the dark, and glow-in-the-dark puppets and sparklers. And when she looked at the cake, the icing said, "We're going to Disney World." So now, and the subconscious, remember, can't tell the difference between reality and imagination. So her subconscious believes that new evidence. So now she's no longer scared of the future or the unknown. And now she's been taking action and building a successful business because her subconscious is now referring to the new evidence that the unknown can be fun and full of good, exciting surprises. So it's no longer triggering the stress chemicals to cause the emergency freeze state whenever she thinks of the future or goes to take action to move forward. So subconscious references provide the evidence that proves our beliefs, whether they're true or not. So that evidence may not be true, but like a computer, the subconscious can't tell the difference between, it can't use logic or reason. It can't tell the difference between reality and imagination, and it can't judge something as unrealistic. So have you ever been frightened by an unrealistic, scary movie? Dinosaurs, anyone? So the subconscious doesn't use logic or reason or anything like that. It just goes according to its programming. And so to change the results you're getting, you need to change the evidence that proves the programming. And that evidence is childhood memories. But can memories really be changed? Well, according to science has lately discovered that memories are not only inaccurate and incomplete, but they're already changing every time we recall them. So memories are not stored as pictures or movies in one part of the brain. They're stored as data in pieces throughout the brain. And when we recall a memory, those pieces are pulled together like a jigsaw puzzle. And then the memory changes slightly each time we recall it based on what we've experienced since the last time we recalled it. So you may have found that when you're talking with family or friends about an event that you all experienced, everyone seems to have a different version. This is why. So considering childhood memories are forming the foundation, proof, and evidence within the subconscious of who we are and how the world works, and considering memories are not accurate and are already constantly changing, and considering the subconscious can't tell the difference between reality and imagination, we can change those childhood memories that are providing the structure and support and evidence for fear and other limiting subconscious beliefs. We can change them to provide the evidence that proves the results we want to achieve, the success we want to achieve. And then those results are just automatic. Now, the conscious mind still knows the original events when we're only changing the memory in the subconscious. So in that example, our client who had a fear of the unknown still knows consciously that she woke up alone in the dark after a nightmare and her mother wasn't there. And if she needed to, she could give the details. But her subconscious believes the new memories and is referring to those new references. So on to part 3, actually clearing the fear. So how do we know how to find the references that are holding us back, and then how do we change them? Well, instead of just explaining it, we're going to do a live demonstration so you can see a real life example in action. So for this, we'll need a volunteer from the audience. Come on up. So if you would like to volunteer, if you have a fear that you would like to change, you would like to clear, just either raise your hand or pop it in the chat, and we'll find out who has something. So we want something not too deep and dramatic, because of course for time we want something that's a good demonstration, that's going to show it as a good demonstration. So of course no trauma or anything that's hectic. Just something that is that will make a good demonstration. But it can be it can be a phobia, it can be a fear of a fear based on beliefs, or a fear of what's going on at the moment with the coronavirus. So we've got Catherine.
Yes.
Hey, hello, it's lovely to see you. So fantastic, good, Catherine. So what I want to say before we start is that everyone else, you can follow along aiming at your own fear as we go through this, all right? So Catherine, what's the fear you'd like to work on?
I'm not sure, let's see. I guess one of the fears is that since my mom has frontal lobe dementia, that I will get it, or my
Okay.
siblings will get it.
Okay, very good. So when you think of that, so the first question is, how do you know that you have that fear?
Because my mother has frontal lobe dementia, and 2 of my aunts also had it, my great aunts.
Right, and but how do you know that you have a fear of getting it yourself or of your siblings getting? How do you know that fear is there? So that's the first question, everybody, you want to ask yourselves is, how do you know, or what's the worst thing about it?
My mother is in a nursing home. She can't do anything herself. She can't eat. She can't dress herself. She can't clean herself.
Okay.
She can't go to the bathroom herself.
So
That's
that's,
fearful, because
yes,
somebody's taking care of her 24/7.
right.
And
Okay.
I don't want Carl to have to do that.
Very good. Well done, Catherine. Okay. And now the second question is, how does that feel? So how does that fear feel to you, or that idea that you're worried about? How does it feel?
Well, it feels like every time I make a mistake or say the wrong word, I'm getting there.
Good job. Very good. So you feel like every time you make a mistake or say the wrong word, it feels like you're getting there.
Yeah.
So that's the second question. The third question for everyone watching as well is, and where in your childhood did you feel that same feeling? It may not be the same topic, but will be the same feeling. So for you, Catherine, where in your childhood did you feel that every time you take a step, make a mistake, that same feeling?
I don't know. There's probably not just one thing.
Okay, so
it could be that if we did something wrong, if we made a mistake, my mother would punish us.
right, there you go. So that's good. And so that's the same feeling. Very good.
I believe it is. It's like if you do something wrong,
Mm-hmm.
the end result is you're going to be punished.
Good job. Very good. Well done. All right. So, and when you think of the fear of the dementia, how strong is that fear right now? 0 to 10. 0, I can't feel anything. 10, it's very strong.
It's very strong now because I can't see her.
Okay.
I can't be with her.
Of course, because of the circumstances.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So would you say it's a 10 now?
Probably.
Okay. Good job. All right. So now I want you to think of something or someone you love, but there's no baggage. So it could be a pet, or it could be a person or an activity that you love that has no negative feelings. You got something?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Very good. Can you tell me what it is?
Sure. I have a son who is, I have multiple sons, but I have my youngest son is always so positive about everything.
Ah, lovely. Okay.
He's just, I mean, he's an amazing kid, and he'll drop everything to come and help us whenever.
Oh, very good. And so that's just good feelings there. There's no worry or negative feelings. Okay, very good. That's perfect. Well done, Catherine. And everyone else, find something for yourself, someone or something you love, but no guilt or missing or longing or anything like that. Just love and appreciation. If you can't think of an animal or a person, it can be a place. So some people I know use like Hawaii or somewhere like that, or it could be an activity you love. So gardening, skiing, whatever it is, or shoes, or just something that you love. All right. Okay. So Catherine, take a deep breath and close your eyes. And everybody else who wants to follow along, take a deep breath, close your eyes. And I want you to start by thinking of your favorite color. So Catherine, can you tell me what your favorite color is?
I'm an artist, so I don't have one.
Okay, you can just pick one. It doesn't have to be your favorite.
Oh, let's say red, because I'm wearing red today.
There you go. All right. So deep breath, close your eyes and think about your favorite color. So think about red for Catherine, And I want you to imagine you're surrounded now by that beautiful color. That lovely feeling of that lovely color. You got that, Catherine? Good job. And now I want you to think of your son. And I want you to imagine holding your son in your arms in a hug. And for everybody else, whatever your subject is, imagine holding that person, animal, place, or thing in your arms in a hug. And feel the feeling of love. Feel where in your body you feel that feeling of love and appreciation. And now I want you to imagine that feeling as a ball of light or energy. And imagine it spreading down to your toes, up to the top of your head, and out to your fingertips. So you're now full of that lovely feeling, that beautiful feeling of love and appreciation. You got that, Catherine? Very, very good. And now press pause on that. And now let's go to when you were a child. You can open your eyes. Let's go to the when you were a child. And do you have a specific memory of when your mum, where, you know, the fear of getting things wrong and getting into trouble from your being punished? You got one memory that can represent that?
Sure. I was trying to help and I watered her violets.
Okay, good. Very good. So you go there now. About how old were you?
Probably 7.
7. Very good. So I want you to imagine you're in that memory now. So go to that memory. You're 7 years old and you watered the violets by accident. And how strong are the emotions there, 0 to 10?
No, I didn't water them by accident. I watered them on purpose.
Oh, you watered them. Okay, you watered them.
It looked like they needed water.
That's right. You were trying to help
on the leaves, and that was really bad.
Okay. All right. So how strong is that feeling now, 0 to 10?
I've kind of let it go. So, I don't know, maybe a 3?
A 3. Okay. So take a deep breath, close your eyes, and I want you to imagine you're 7 years old again. And you're in that scene. So whatever happened in that scene, whoever was there, and how strong are the emotions now as you feel like you're in that scene? Is it still a 3 or is it higher?
No, it's higher.
Okay, good. So where would you put it?
I'd put it probably at a 9.
Very good. Good job, sweetie. And now press pause on that. Let's go back to the beautiful red color. So you're surrounded by the red color. So you can close your eyes and imagine being surrounded by the red color and holding your son in your arms in a hug, and feel the connection between the two of you. How much you love him and he loves you, how sweet he is, all the things you love about him. You got that? Very good. And now press pause on that. And let's go back to the memory of the violets. And the emotions there was a 9. Where is it now? Is it more or less or the same?
I guess it didn't change. I completely.
That's okay. Good. Notice it. That's all right. Just notice how you know it's still there, and press pause on that. Let's go back to the color, the red, and hugging your son and everything you love about him. Has he ever done anything funny?
Oh, all the time.
What's your favorite funny memory of him?
I guess it's not funny, but I consider it funny.
Yes.
He was sitting in the bed at the hospital getting ready for his surgery.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, "Why are you so happy? Why are you so calm?"
Mm-hmm.
"I'm a wreck." And he said, "Don't be. This is really good. I can't believe how much larger my prayer circle has become."
Ah.
And I just, how could you not smile and say, "You're right."
That's lovely. That's great. And so that's one of the things you love about him, is that Beautiful outlook he's got. Very good. Now press pause on that. And let's go back to 7 years old and the violets. And just very briefly notice what are the emotions there now? How strong are they? They were a 9. Where are they now?
They're down to maybe a 4.
Good job. And press pause on that. Let's go back to your son and that scene in the hospital where he had that beautiful outlook. How much larger his prayer circle has got. And see his face. Remember his face and how much you love that face and everything about him. Imagine hugging him. You got that? Good job. And press pause on that. Let's go back to the 7-year-old with the violets. And it was a 4. Where is it now?
Really doesn't matter.
Good job. Very good. So now let's change it. So the first step for everyone else as well is to bring down the emotions, because the only reason we can't just change a memory, we can just change a memory. It's all inside your mind now. We're not going back in time. But the reason it's so difficult to do that is because of the emotions. So we bring the emotions down. So now we want to change that memory to something wonderful. So the opposite, positive and empowering. So I want you to imagine now that instead of whatever that was that happened, your mum is thrilled. She's so grateful. She's so proud of you. And she speaks about you the same way you speak about your son. Everything you say about your son, your mum says about you. All right. Can you do that? Can you imagine that? And I want you to imagine that she rewarded you in some way, whatever that little 7-year-old you would have loved to have happened that day. You got something?
Yes.
Very good. Well done, Catherine. And so now play that new memory through and let me know when you're done. Very good. Play it through again. Let me know when you're done. Very good. And one more time and let me know when you're done. And you can add to it each time. Make it more and more wonderful. You can add sound, music, special effects.
Okay.
Good job. Very, very good. Okay, so now, and just a reminder to everyone, if you have any questions or you need help through this, just pop it in the chat. Steve is on chat, so he will help you. All right, so Catherine, now let's think of your mum right now and the dementia. And the fear was a 10. Is it still a 10 or has it changed?
No, it's not a 10.
Very good. Where is it now?
I probably don't have it.
Good job. Good job, Catherine. So what we want to do now is replace the fear with love. So that whenever you think of your mum, instead of thinking of the dementia and the fear, you feel love and appreciation and you remember that memory, that new memory with the violets. And so what you're doing is you're literally changing your chemical state. Because again, the same with all the other fears, feeling fear, worrying about the dementia, being scared of it is not going to change it. It's not going to make it go away. It's not going to change it. But being in a feel-good state will keep your brain healthy, right? Because it keeps blood flowing to the prefrontal cortex, which is part of the bit of the brain that's needed to keep your cognitive thinking.
Okay.
All right. Does that sound good?
So does that mean that if I make a mistake, not when, when I make a mistake,
yes,
compute numbers wrong or something, and then go back and say, you idiot, you did it wrong, I should feel happy?
Yes. So here's the thing, making a mistake, we all make mistakes. Everybody makes mistakes. And it doesn't mean anything other than the meaning you give it. And you, through what you've just described a little bit of, you were told you were stupid and you were punished for making mistakes and so on. So that you're just recreating your childhood. It has nothing to do with the mistakes you're making now. That's just, you're programmed with that belief. So we've changed just one memory. You would need to change the other memories as well. So all the other evidence that your subconscious has that proves at the moment that you are in danger if you make mistakes, right? Okay. So you want to change those, just like we did this one, to the opposite, positive, empowering, so that, because then eventually, once you've done that, you will no longer have that reaction to me. You'll make a mistake and you go, oh, well, and you'll just move on, because it won't mean the same thing anymore. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Very good. Good job. So keep practicing this, this technique, and change those other memories.
Thank you.
All right. You're very, very welcome, sweetheart. Very welcome. All right. So I'm going to go back to screen share for a moment. So now, before we go on to the Q&A section of this event, we wanted to invite you to a deeper dive on this topic, with more hands-on help and guidance in reprogramming your subconscious to clear the fear. So we're going to be answering your questions in a minute. Any questions you have about the demonstration we've just done, or the process, or anything at all to do with fear or your fears and that. But we'll also be doing a full day online workshop here on Zoom. So the same format as this event, but with it'll be a full day instead, and it'll be with the addition of breakout rooms, so that so that we can help individuals address specific challenges in private as well throughout the workshop. So you'll be able to ask for a breakout room, and one of us will take you into a little separate room, and we can work on that. So the event is on Thursday, Thursday, April 9th, and it'll be here on Zoom, as I said. The agenda for the day is we'll be logging on to Zoom at 9:30, or from 9:30 onwards. So that'll be like arrival, and we'll connect with each other. It'll be a kind of casual meet and greet, and then we'll start at 10. So this is all CDT time, Central Time. So 10 till 12:30, we'll do a deeper dive into the subconscious programming and clearing specific fears and other beliefs, other limiting beliefs, and we'll do more live demonstrations on volunteers. And then at 12:30, from 12:30 to 1, we'll take 30 minutes offline for lunch. And then from 1 until 2, we have a special guest coach that we're working with. So Sheila Peterson is a transformational nutrition and lifestyle mentor, and she's going to cover, from 1 till 2, she'll be covering the links between nutrition and food cravings and emotions. So what I'd actually like to do now is invite Sheila to give you a little bit of an overview, say a few words about what you can expect from her, from what she'll be sharing at the workshop. So Sheila, welcome. Lovely
Great.
To see you.
Thank you. Lovely to see all of you. I'm so grateful to be here in your presence, and that you all created the space to join us today. This has been wonderful. I've followed along, and I've gotten a lot out of this last exercise. So thank you. It's just beautiful. So yes, as Odile mentioned, I'll be speaking about nutrition and cravings and emotions. I'm certified through the Institute for Integrative Nutrition out of New York. And, you know, before I went to that school, I wasn't reading food labels. I was working a 9 to 5. I thought I was healthy, eating microwave dinners, you know, and all those things. So I'm going to go through and break down and really give you the simple tools, because, you know, nutrition is complicated. There's so many diets out there, and lifestyles and ways of being. And, you know, one blog that you read might tell you to eat meat, and the next might tell you never to eat it. So what I do, and what my gift is to really understand you as a whole person. And so what works for you may not work for the next person. And so we really make it simple. You know, you can ask yourself, how do I nourish myself? You know, in this time of slowing down and being home, this is a great time to ask yourself, am I drinking enough water? Am I getting enough color on my plate through the way of fruits and vegetables? Am I social distancing myself from the fridge, and why? You know, these are kind of some of the questions you can ask yourself and really get present. So it'll teach you some really great things about mindful eating. And then I'll tap into cravings. And cravings are not the problem. I feel they're actually the solution. And so when we can get present to, oh, I'm eating a lot of dairy, I wonder why. Or, oh, I'm eating a lot of fruits and vegetables, I feel really cold. You know, there's a lot of clues which connect us to then our emotions. And when we're tapped into that, that's really the awakening, is to see the connections between your nutrition, the cravings, and the emotions. So I am super excited to share those things with you on that day.
Great. Thank you very much, Sheila. Thanks for that. And we're very excited, and we're looking forward to that, that collaboration. All right. So this workshop, after Sheila, will then from 2 till 3:30, we'll be doing individual work. So you'll be changing your own subconscious programming using the workbook and the information you've learned in the morning. And then and you'll be able to go request breakout rooms with us if you get stuck or you need more help, and so on. And then at 3:30 we'll answer any remaining questions and wind up there. So the price for that workshop, that full day workshop online, is $97. But if you book by midnight tonight, we've done a special coupon code. So you can save $50 if you book by midnight tonight and use that code. Now, Steve is going to copy and paste the event booking, the booking link and that code into the chat in this Zoom session. And we will also email you straight after this session today with that link and the code so that you can do your booking. And so now we are on to Q&A. So all questions are welcome. And I think there've probably been some in the chat as well. So if you would like to go ahead, and who has a question? Steve, do you have
Odile, I just wanted to bring up, Jessica had a good question regarding memories from the womb when we get stressors from mom.
Yes. What about them?
I'm thinking that it was based upon the conversation that, you know, childhood memories going back. So Jessica, you know, you can also chime in if you want to, and give me a little bit more.
Hey, Jessica.
Hi there.
Hi, how are you doing?
I'm great, thank you.
Good.
Yeah, that was just basically when we bring up childhood memories that we want to reprogram. If they come from the womb initially, what do you do about that?
Okay, good question. So any memories, whether they're from the womb or memories that you've been told about, but you don't actually remember, you know, you weren't there yourself, anything like that, it's the same question of how do I know? So memories from the womb, some people, it may be just that their mother told, or somebody told them about it. So how do I know? Well, I know because they told me, or they may actually have a memory, in which case, how do I know? I know because there's this feeling or this visual that I have, or I remember hearing something, that kind of thing. And it's exactly the same process. Does that does that answer your question?
Yes, that's helpful. Thank you.
Good job. You're very welcome, Jessica. All right, who's next? And Catherine?
Quick question.
Yes.
If there are chemicals that are produced in your body for fear and for happiness.
Yes.
Is that something that, can those chemicals be used in a drug to help people with dementia?
Well, so the drugs that are created for dementia and for other things, for, you know, for depression, for a lot of different anxiety, a lot of different conditions, are created based on the chemicals that we naturally produce.
Right.
So they use the similar kind of makeup, similar chemicals that have the same effect on the synapses of the synaptic clefts of the neural connections. So yes.
Okay, thanks.
All right, you're very welcome. And next, who else has a question? So I know while we're waiting for any other questions, one of the questions that a lot of people have is it wrong to change memories, to change childhood memories, because that's what actually happened? And of course, the answer to that is that whatever the event was, it's already happened. So we can't go back in history, go back in time and physically change that event. Right now, it's not happening now. The only way it's happening is in your own mind, and it's just connections between neurons now. And so what we're doing is changing how it's represented in your mind, in your own brain, so that it benefits you. So there is no right or wrong about it. It just is. It's no more right or wrong than changing the printer cartridge from black and white to color because you want to print in color. Oh, someone says, what if you've done a lot of work on your memories already and still can't find the subconscious program causing your fear? Okay, Sarah, that's a very good question. To be honest, the most powerful references that we found have been the most unexpected ones. So if you've done the work on your memories, that's good. One of the things you can do is just check that, so how do I know, how does it feel and where in my childhood? Make sure you're looking for the feeling in all topics. In other words, so one of the big places where people get a little bit off track there is regarding money issues, for example. So how do I know, because I don't have any money, how does it feel? I feel helpless. Where in your childhood now you're looking for the feeling of helplessness, but it probably won't have anything to do with money. It will be to do with something else. So it could be, locked in a locker at school, or being bullied and feeling helpless, that kind of thing. So that's one thing. And the second thing, the second part of the answer for you, Sarah, is that if you've worked on a lot of your memories, check what's still there that's negative. So what you're looking for is that your entire childhood was fabulous. So you want to get to the point where you've got a whole, what Steve calls a whole new timeline. So if you think of parallel universes, so you were born to parents who were in love, they were financially stable, they were happy and emotionally intelligent, they couldn't wait to have you, and you were raised with love and appreciation and all of that. Just make that whole new timeline of your childhood, bearing in mind your subconscious can't tell the difference. And if you start doing that, you'll notice memories come up to contradict it. That's when you'll know which memories to change. Does that answer your question? Very good. You're very welcome, sweetheart. All right. And what's next? What else have we got here? How to use this with a health problem. Kara, so in the same way, so depending on what the health problem is, you can, and I've used this myself. So there's a few different, so how do I know? So how do I know, either how do I know I have a health problem, or how do I know this health problem bothers me, or what's the worst thing about it? So you can ask any or all of those questions, and then you take whatever the answer is to that. So let's say you've got pain. So for me, one of my issues was, I'm just trying to think now which one to, okay, let's say you've got pain. And so how do I know that I have pain, or how do I know the pain bothers me? Or what's the worst thing about the pain? So let's say what's the worst thing about the pain is I feel like I can't concentrate on anything else because I'm so you know, the pain is taking all my attention, and I feel like, and it's frustrating. So then where in my childhood did I feel that kind of feeling of, I can't concentrate, I'm being, it's taking all my attention. And then maybe it's, I had a sibling who tormented me so I could never get my homework done. Or, you know, my parents seem to constantly be holding me back, whatever that is. Again, remember, it may have nothing to do with the physical condition or even the symptom. So that's one part. The second part is, when you were growing up, did anyone else have that issue, or did you have? So for example, some people, a very common one is people who were, as a child, didn't get the attention or didn't get love or appreciation unless they were sick, or except for the one time they were ill or had an operation or whatever. That was the one time where they had the connection with the parents. And so you're not consciously aware of that, but your subconscious then reproduces that over and over, because that's what equals love as far as the subconscious is concerned. And bearing in mind, subconscious doesn't use logical reason. So it doesn't make sense, but that's how the subconscious sees it. So you're looking for those, yeah, so hopefully that helps, Kara. And
just putting a couple of them together, like where to start. I've got a lot, you know, a lot of memories. How do we know where to begin? The number of memories is huge. Where do we start?
okay, so where you start is with the symptoms. So, and by symptoms, I mean whatever the condition is that you want to change. So that kind of is, let's say, the biggest issue at the moment is a fear of what's going to happen with the coronavirus. Start there. How do I know I'm scared? How does it feel? Where have I felt it before in my childhood? Or let's say your biggest issue right now is conflict in a relationship. Again, you know, how do I know this is a problem, or what's the worst thing about it? How does it feel? Where in my childhood? That kind of thing. So that's one place you can start. The other place you can start is from the beginning. Just start imagining, you know, go to your earliest memory, your earliest bad memory that you have, and change that, and then just work forward chronologically. So it depends on the person as to which option works best for you. Does that help, whoever asked that question? If you need, yeah? Oh, good. Okay. So if you need more on that, just let me know. All right. Well, if you do still have any questions, please do feel free to reach out to us in our Facebook group. We are very active, and we love answering questions. So please always feel free to do that. And so to finish off, just to round off that experience for me with the invoice, that I'm going to die reaction to the error being pointed out in my invoice, traced back, as an example, to being in trouble at school for not doing homework. And in those were the days of corporal punishment in South African schools. So it was really scary. And so that, along with a few other memories, and once I changed those memories, I was then able to just calmly and efficiently simply correct the invoice and resend it to the client and get paid. And I no longer feel fear when invoicing or when making mistakes. So it's about replacing fear with strategy and problem solving. And that can completely transform all areas of your life as you keep your cognitive thinking online more of the time. All right, so I think that's all from us for now. And we hope to see you on April 9th. That would be wonderful. If you have any questions about anything at all, you can reach out to us in our Facebook group, through our website, or by email. And have a fabulous day. So keep that prefrontal cortex online. Do whatever it takes to feel good. And lots of love to all of you.